Hello, welcome back to another episode of Briggs & Co. where we're leaving average for Joe. I did take a little bit of a break there just to reorganize, schedule, plan, refocus. And I mean, let's be real. I'm in Miami right now doing a really cool contract and it's asking a lot, and so I am making sure I'm here 110% of myself, and that meant just taking a little bit of a week's break from recording so that I can come back into the recording feeling super refreshed, energized, and simply stoked for the next lineup of guests. I have been really bringing on some guests that I truly had zero expectations to commit to coming on. So it's been an absolute gift and tremendous experience to sit down and talk with these individuals who I personally look up to and pull motivation from. And so I hope that you all can pull motivation from as well. So without further ado, this next guest is no exception to all of those wonderful things I just stated. He is an Alberta boy, small town, so true to my heart, and really has this passion for life like I've never seen in another human being. He has experience in TV, film, but also live theater, musical theater at such a young age, and then has really brought that musical theater background into his work all the way up until today. He is now doing some choreography with Mo Brody on Netflix and Hallmark and all of these wonderful programs. He is now touring with companies, touring with conventions. I mean, you name it, he has done it, but he's also just a genuine, humble, kind soul that we can all learn from. So please give a warm, well-rounded applause for my next guest, Keiran Bohay.
Hello.
Can you see
I can
me?
hear and see you.
Okay, good. Did you
Can
have to go to the ends of the earth to make this happen?
no, not the ends, not at all. I just don't have Google Chrome.
Which that's the first time I've heard anyone say that they needed to download it.
Yeah, it said we use Google Chrome, so we'll see. Am I clear on your head?
So you said I'm using Google Chrome.
I'm using Google. And now I'm a Google guy.
Okay, Keiran, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm so good. Yeah.
That was a longer exhale. Are you like on traveling shows right now, or are you back home in Vancouver?
Yeah, this has been probably my busiest fall so far. So I just got back last night. I rolled into town about midnight from Winnipeg Power Dance Convention. Yeah, so
Right.
if my voice is a little raspy, it's because I was screaming in ballrooms for 2 days.
You don't do that. That's not like you. Um, well, thank you for carving out time. I have been trying to get you on for a little while. I had a good conversation with Mo. This was like months ago on the podcast, and she had mentioned the work with you, and obviously I briefly worked with you and stuff. So
Yep.
you're such a good figure, good human being, good role model in this industry.
Well, thank you.
And I'm happy that you could, and grateful that you could come on. So
Yeah, thanks for asking me.
honestly, the chats go, honestly, no strict schedule, no pathway. It goes with the flow. But typically I end up just kind of starting with guests diving into a little bit of their background, because I personally think that that says a lot about kind of who they are as a human being and how they got to where they are in their career. And so, just to give even listeners a little bit of color to who you are, where you grew up, how you started to get into dance, we can just start from there.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So
fantastic.
are we rolling right now? Are we going?
Always rolling.
Always rolling. Okay, perfect. Well, I mean, if we're gonna start, my my mom, she has been directing a lot of local theater. Basically, she still directs, so she's been doing a lot of local theater forever. And my dad would run lights and sound. Um,
I
yeah.
had no idea.
So that's kind of where I got my, I guess, my comfortability, my passion around the stage. And so I grew up in a town called Wainwright. I moved there when I was 4. I actually was born in Saskatoon. Grew up in the Melville, Yorkton region, like till I was 4, and then traveled to Alberta. So I grew up in a relatively small town for. I mean, I'm pretty sure nobody really knows, but Wainwright is 2 hours east of Edmonton. Like maybe 6,000 people today. Like when I moved there, there's probably just shy of 5,000 people. There's a huge military base right beside there. So it is kind of transient. Like there's people coming in, families moving in and out. There's a lot of oil, um, industry just like that. Like kind of like a typical small town. Um,
It's dance, oil, or military.
yeah, it feels like that. I mean, I wouldn't even say dance. I would put dance like is like a small percentage. It was definitely hockey, and
For
then
sure.
maybe a little dance. Um, but yeah, I moved there when I was 4. I was kind of around the theater. My parents had been, like I said, my mom was directing a lot of the local theater. And then just kind of how I got started into dance is apparently I come from a very big family. We were at a wedding and there's just like the DJ was playing some Michael Jackson and I was just having the best time, I guess. And so they thought,
Come
well,
on, man in the
yeah,
mirror.
they're like, okay, well, we'll throw them in. And so I started my first class. I was 8 when I started dancing and started with tap.
Okay.
Yeah, and I grew up in, like a small town in Alberta. I have 3 older brothers, so I think like the prospect of being, a male dancer, like we like started with tap. That felt like the most manly, like quote unquote, like
The Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I could be
The
picked on the
transition to
least.
dance, or
Yeah.
exactly, the pathway into the arts was doable with
Yes.
tap.
Yeah. Maybe
Um,
that's like not the best way to look at it, but it certainly is like a reality. I think in the small town is you kind of go that way. And my first year of tap, I actually ended up doing a tap solo as well. It was so sweet. It was it was Daddy Cool. I don't know if you know that song. It was rad. I had like a
like,
Mickey
was Daddy
Mouse.
ever cool?
I had a Mickey Mouse tie, and I think about that almost every day of my life that I might have peaked that day.
Surely there's footage that is
I,
available
you know what?
for.
I'll like if I can ever get my hands on it. I'm sure my mom has it somewhere. But
Oh, that's
it was
wild.
awesome.
So,
First time on
Kieran,
stage.
is there is there anyone that like that? Because I mean, I grew up in Stony Plain, Alberta, so like very familiar with Wainwright, with
Yep.
small towns, with that sort of arena, if you will. Is there anyone that you are currently working with, not to like completely jump the gun, but
Mhm.
currently working with or have trained with that came from that same group of dancers in Wainwright? Because I like I know of many myself, and
Yeah.
maybe there's
I think when you think of like Wainwright, you kind of have to go to rural Alberta.
yeah.
It's just like Wainwright is too small of a pool. I like my good friend. We danced. We grew up together. Rochelle Thorson. Another one. My friend Brittany Arnett like was from Wainwright. Like we were
Yeah,
all
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of from the small town that ended up in the Vancouver area. So I mean, pretty for such a small population, for that many people to have kind of passed through Wainwright and kind of went on to post-secondary dance, which is pretty
But
good
like,
success
isn't that
rate.
the case? Well, and that's the thing is you're breeding, who am I? You're breeding this like raw grit and determination to just because there's minimal opportunities in these small towns.
Hmm.
And so if you get put into what maybe you were in conventions or you went to like festivals, local competitions and stuff like that, and you start to like expose yourself to the industry. But I do feel like because speaking for myself here, there wasn't too many opportunities to audition or to go to these master class or
Hmm.
drop-ins or whatever it was. You like fully took advantage of those opportunities whenever they came around.
Well, yeah, so like that's when I'm kind of um a little bit on the, the outside, because I actually felt like I did the least amount of dance that I could all the way until, like, well, not the least, but like I took every summer off all through my school career. I never danced during the summer until I was 18. Like, I already graduated school, and I realized, like, I just didn't know that there was that we could actually do something. And we had this teacher come in. His name is
Mhm.
Jake Hasty. He came in from Edmonton. He had danced with Royal Winnipeg. He had kind of traveled and like seen some things. I think he had a degree from Grant McEwen, and so he had this idea that like you could actually go further than just Wainwright, or further than graduating at your studio and then like the immediate year after teaching and just flipping, like kind of turning that page over and over, because that was what dance was. Like, teaching was the gig.
The next step.
Yeah.
Totally.
So then when I like Jake, he kind of had this idea. He was getting people to audition for Nutcrackers and going to the city. Like very few people would, because it was so foreign and honestly so scary. Like, to put
Yeah.
yourself out there is pretty terrifying. But yeah, it wasn't until I actually graduated high school, I moved to Edmonton, and I was going to go to school at the U of A for a combined degree. It was a bachelor. It was drama and English education. So it's this 5 year
No
combined
kidding.
degree, and I mean, I'm pretty sporadic, and I would say ADD is something that I've, like, my
As
attention.
many brilliant artists
Well,
are.
so I had um, a semester of like upgrading in Edmonton, and so I thought, maybe I'll just, like, maybe we'll see if there was some training that could happen. And my mom's name is Shelly, and she Googled dance studios in Edmonton, and then she found Shelly's Dance Company, and it was spelled the same way. And she was like, I think we just got to check it out, because like you're just upgrading, like, we'll we'll just see what happens. And yeah, I stepped in the door. It was during the summer intensive. I'll never, like, it was crazy. It was so hot in there. I remember looking at the dancers; they were so good. And then Shelly kind of walked me around the studio, because I just came in, and knowing now what I know about her, I think the prospect of having another senior male dancer was too good to pass up. And she just put her arm around me and then walked me into the studio and said, "This is the new
You're
boy.
with me now.
This is the new boy who's dancing here." And I was like, okay, but I had no idea about, like, SDC or the legacy, or like the skill or
No, no.
intensity. Like,
Yeah.
I was it was a little bit like, if I knew more, I might have been intimidated, but thankfully I was so naive.
Isn't that the saying though? It's like no um sometimes like knowing less you don't even realize like the power of that sort
Mhm.
of thing, and that's the prime example of like sometimes not getting yourself amped up for an audition
Mhm.
6 months before and just throwing yourself like
Yep.
checking out what audition is tomorrow, throwing yourself in, not being so in your head about it is like
Yep.
the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
Bit of a like sidebar there, but that's so true.
Yeah, I feel like the whole process of being a dancer and an artist is just getting out of your own way all of the time. Just, how can I, like, free myself to actually be, like, open to anything? Yeah.
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 Yeah, and getting used to that, like, feeling of, like, nauseous butterflies and, like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
don't like this at all." Getting used to that is the key, at least for me, I've found.
Do
So,
you do you like
you
that?
you
Do you like those feelings?
what?
Like, do you still enjoy
Uh,
getting those nervous butterflies?
I actually okay, so maybe this is because now I've just I'm used to them now.
Hmm.
I find the second I am aware that I feel them, I'm like, "Oh, hell yeah, sister. This is the stuff you have been training for, or this is the stuff that makes you grow, or whatever it is," because I'm just like aware of it now.
Hmm.
I've sort of like experienced those nerves enough and saw the other end of it to know that usually when you're nervous and sick to your stomach like that, it's worthwhile pursuing,
Yeah.
whether or not you successfully, complete the audition or whatever the case is. You're gonna learn something along the way, or something's gonna come from that experience. So like the second my tummy gets butterflies, I'm like, oh, this is
Ooh.
growth.
It's
That's
almost,
just what growth is.
it's like you're in the right place. Yeah. If you're
Mm,
nervous like that, you're yeah, that's awesome. I because I
yeah,
really do
that
enjoy those feelings, and I think that there's a lot of people who like that's not a feeling of comfort. So I think a lot of people try to avoid those situations
shy
where they
away.
feel their like
Yeah,
their stomach turning. Like that's it's not always comfortable.
yeah.
Actually, it's maybe never comfortable, but if you have the right mindset.
And but I do feel like there's tactics that so growing up in for some reason in my family, I don't know if you ever got this way, but the girls in my family, our faces would go beet red. Like our faces go beet red whenever we are nervous about something or on the spot or in trouble, like whatever it is, our face just goes beet red. And so yesterday I was in rehearsal actually, and this is a complete sidebar, but I like it. I like where we're going with this because I think it's important for dancers and any performer, any human really. I was in rehearsals and I was sitting at the front of the room. And the dancers were performing, and there's a bit of the show where there's audience engagement, and so the male vocalist walked up and like tapped on me to be the one that gets pulled into the show,
Hmm.
and he hadn't done that yet, and I was sort of like, he's gonna do it soon, like it's my turn kind of coming up, and he did it, and I just like from my toes to my head, like this rush of it was the weirdest, uncomfortable feeling. My face went beet red, instantly started sweating, and we're in rehearsal. Like there is
Yeah.
no reason why I should be this nervous or just on the spot. And then he walks me center stage. He's doing the whole game show trivia thing, and I'm like, I'm shell shocked. Like I'm like, what's going on, Briggs? Like, and so whether or not you feel like you've accomplished things and gotten to a certain point in your career, that stuff still happens,
Yeah.
and it's I think it was a good reminder for me to be like, are you getting too comfortable? Have you not had this happen to you in a while?
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Because instantly I was like, ooh, I haven't actually felt this way in a while. That's a reminder for me to feel
Yeah.
this way again sooner rather than later.
It's I like that idea of like am I getting too comfortable? Because yeah, as artists and like we're trying to constantly learn and evolve, like we don't want to be too comfortable. But I think as humans, all we ever want to do is be comfortable. Like we make things easier for ourselves to be comfortable. We like we get a job closer so we don't have to commute as long. We like we have like these routines that make us comfortable. And then here we are like, hey, what if we just do something totally vulnerable in front of like hundreds of people and make ourselves the most uncomfortable as we can be and like get a high from that. Isn't that so funny?
I really like that. I really like it. And I like that it's it's something that you're aware of, because your I don't even like your CV, if you will, is so colorful and so complex that to say that you even have that mindset is really really good for people to hear, especially young dancers that sometimes can walk around with an ego or whatever the case may be. It's like we got to get better at knocking ourselves down, I think, sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
dropping egos and getting into those uncomfortable moments. But to come back to, as I'm curious to know the pathway from you were on the trajectory to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
Shelly, Shelly and her brilliant duo Shelly
Yeah.
pulled a quick one on you, and so now you're with Shelley Dance
E-
Company now.
yeah,
Is that what's
so
happening?
basically I had I I was like, yeah, let's do it. This was pretty much a university tuition dancing at Shelley's. I went from, I think in Wainwright, I took every class that I could the graduating year, and I was dancing like 7 hours a week, like almost no hours, and I was doing every single style. Also, I want to say that my memory, I might be making all of this up, but I believe it to be true. Like I could have had like 11 hours of dance. I don't know. We're gonna see, but we'll just have to take it for what
We're
it's worth.
ballparking.
Yeah. Um, but also just to go back, so when I was training, I eventually like started with tap, and then I needed to take ballet so I could do tap solos, and I was like in love with the stage. And then I kept going, and when I was 13, I actually did my first professional job at the Edmonton Citadel Theater. So I was I did some
Oh,
theater there, and I did
was mom super proud of that?
oh, it was awesome. It was like a 4-part audition. I was the understudy. It was Peter Pan. It was
Nice.
so fun, and I got to like fly and all that. And then the next year I did Oliver Twist. So I did that when I was 13 and 14, commuting from Wainwright to Edmonton and back. My teachers were awesome because the theater was dark on Mondays, like typical theaters are. And so I would go to school every Monday, drop off my homework for the week, and then pick up my homework for the following week. And then I would stay in a hotel downtown Edmonton while I was performing. Like it was so nuts. I have like the before, yeah, just before we kind of continue, like the support that I've had from my parents, my family, my town, like they rented a school bus and brought people to the show who wanted to come. Like I had like some really really cool support, and I really appreciate and see the value of the small town. Like it was, everybody knew everyone, everyone has your back. um yeah, the support
That's wicked.
was so special. So I kind of like knew I wanted to do theater, or and I'd been dancing till I was graduated. So I even wanted to go to school, right, to be a drama teacher. I knew that like something in the arts was where I was going to be.
Mm.
And then when I went to Shelly, she puts her hand around me. She says, "You're dancing." I'm like, "Whatever." Basically, I was dancing like 20 some hours a week. Just like I've never been more sore in my life. I don't think
Shredded.
I don't think I could ever do her warm up. Like the whole time I was dancing at Shelly's, I
No, I
don't
think
think
that's the
I've
point
ever
of it.
gotten it. But it
No,
was incredible.
I think she strategically builds her warm-ups so that negative 100 of the students can get it
Yeah.
and like feel confident, because the second there's a student that feels confident,
Yeah.
she's like, oh no,
Yep.
no. No, no.
Uh-huh. So that was, yeah, that was really sweet. Anyways, I'm dancing like this much. I've never danced like this. I ended up basically dropping out of school because I was like, I want to dance right now. I was 18 and I was getting my intermediate ballet exam, RAD exam. And so I was
Yep.
dancing with like I imagine like 13 and 14-year olds at the ballet bar, just working towards my my foundation. I got my exam.
She's cheering in fifth.
I did go. I had a that was my one and only ballet exam I've ever done.
What are your thoughts on it? What are your thoughts on exams?
I have never been more nervous in my life. That was a time, like in
Yeah.
terms of examination, I think like syllabus is wonderful to so that you know where you are and where you should be, and I think RAD does a great job of like having syllabus that's beyond most capabilities, so there's always something to work on. But like for me,
Yes.
I progressed like immensely because of that ballet exam, and
Yeah.
like the support that I had from the staff there in Edmonton. Melody Van Veen, like Miss
Yeah.
Melody, she's like my all-star, and I was, in a place where I was trying to support myself in Edmonton, dance as much as I could. And so she really helped me out and gave me ballet privates, and just like that
That's
one-on-one
awesome.
coaching. Yeah, it
Having
was.
like those figures in your life, hey, like, and I don't know if you knew it at the time, but it is like such a good skill to and practice to be able to like reflect on sort of who played a crucial role,
Yeah.
in that phase of your life. And something like that, it's like maybe in the moment you didn't realize, but man, like
Hmm.
that was those were gifts, those little side lessons that you took, and the time she took. And
Yeah.
people, I don't think often realize in the moments how pivotal and how like valuable those connections are.
Well, I'm also like, I'm getting older, and those I mean, hindsight, of course, right? It's so powerful. And so like those lines become clearer and clearer, and I can see these, milestones. They're just like, oh yeah, like that is when this happened. This is when that happened. And like that ballet exam was really, it was just so, it was pivotal for me, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that as you grow, as we age, we do start to see the pathway, the trajectory in our lives and how we got to these places. That's
Mhm.
honestly what I love about this podcast and hosting it, is I like to see like connect dots and do all that, especially with the guests, because I have found that guests can even go like, oh, hang on, that is why this, or
Yeah.
this person came into my life because of that. It's so cool. It's like a little cobweb. Um, so then I do want to dive a little bit into how you got into the Vancouver TV film,
Mm.
because I know your background is live theater. I
Yeah.
mean, you even said you were interested in being a drama teacher, and you have such a strong musical theater um, skill that I know anyone that's come into your class or watched you perform, like that is such a given, and why people just like like a magnet glue onto you, because you have this like frickin' personality that is so unreplicable, um that you stick out like the best sore thumb in the entire
I
world.
appreciate that. That's
So I'm
awesome.
curious. Yeah, no, it's true. So I'm curious to know sort of that that bridge then to Vancouver, and maybe there was a bit there that I'm missing. So
Yeah.
fill in the gaps. But
Yeah, so 2 years at Shelley's, competed, all that stuff, trained, and then I worked. Basically, I was my. I mean, I still had help financially. It was so. I mean, dance is expensive, but I had my own bills to pay as well, and then I was paying all of my competition fees and things like that. So I taught for Shelley for a whole season, and I just worked off my debt, and then
wow.
as I was training with Shelly at SDC and all like my friends, I met some like amazing, still some of my best friends. There, we went to a summer camp called Rocky Mountain Dance Project, and that was my first ever summer camp away in terms of dance. And so I was 18, and I saw these assistants coming. So it was Joanne Pasusic, Alex Pasusic, Kelsey Chase, Liz Tukey, Kevin Tukey. They came in, they taught this workshop, and I was like, oh, like I'd never seen that. And people were dancing, like really, like I don't know, it just felt like I was doing moves, and they were dancing everything. So it was something
Embodying
happened
it.
there,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I did that for many years actually. So I started paying for the camp, and then I was a dorm dad so that I could take the camp for free. But then I like watched the boys' cabin, like the we just, yeah, that was fun. And then eventually got to become an assistant myself, and like kind of live that journey to fruition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That's where
And
I.
being an assistant, like it teaches you a lot, it because there's it's long days,
Mhm.
you're putting in like extra duties, whatever the camp or the host, like whether it be Rocky Mountain Camp or
Yeah,
any other convention or camp in the industry, like you are an octopus with 12 different arms,
yeah.
and you gotta be there when they need you. You're working long hours, but I truly think, because I've done it myself as well, like the lessons that it teaches you and the connections you can make from that is tremendous. So,
It's yeah.
not, yeah,
Yeah, no, like that alone, like that camp is where I was introduced to Vancouver. And then, yeah, that's exactly how that kind of jump, that transition happened, is because I got to know the assistants. They were training in a company called Source Dance Company, and like they were just rock stars. And so I thought, like, this is what I want to do for sure. And then I eventually auditioned and I moved to Vancouver in 2013, I want to say, with I think $2,000 in my pocket and two roommates who I'd never really met before. And the three of us just,
So
hung out in
two
a one
thousand
bedroom.
bucks now.
Yeah.
I feel like I know that wasn't too long
No.
ago, but 2,000 bucks now. I mean, in Vancouver, because I was chatting with friends the other day about rent, and because I'm in Miami right now, and we
Yeah.
were looking at condo, rent fees here, and then cross referencing it to UK, and then I threw in Vancouver, and Vancouver, no matter who I'm talking to, has trumped any
Yeah.
other place in the entire world. Like,
Yeah.
it's disgusting how expensive it is.
It is, I have a lot of sympathy and a lot of like admiration to new and upcoming artists. I think when you couple, well, like the results of COVID, not being able to like audition in person, maybe missing your grad year competing and your first year of training programs. We lost the in-person auditions because they went to film, because nobody could video submissions, so because nobody could, you know, audition together. And then they just kept that model because it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot easier, you can see more people faster. It in a lot of ways it makes sense. I really love in-person auditions. I think that that's one of the only ways that you can get a real pulse on a person and a performer. And I think that's actually why maybe the careers are also, like, younger careers are in such an interesting transition, is because there's a lot of talent being hired, but nobody knows the personality. Like, nobody knows the locker room,
Mm,
like the etiquette that's happening.
yes.
And I think a lot of that is shown through an audition. And this last weekend, with being at the Power Dance Convention, they do mock auditions and things like that. And that was some of the feedback that we offered. Is you're being, you're auditioning as soon as you step in the door. And sometimes when you like walk past somebody and give them a compliment or like a pat on the back, if something didn't go their way, and how you support someone, if you have a job, but like a cruise ship, or like a CERT contract, or even theater, where you're going to be having extended rehearsals, extended show times, like run times in close quarters. Really, I don't know if it's about being the best dancer ever. It's mostly just about being the right dancer, and that's usually just a good person.
Well, and you're so right, Kieran, because even like noticing who gets rehired
Mm-hmm.
as well, like it depends on obviously the job and stuff, but like it's a contract, sure, but there's opportunity to extend contracts as well. And I know you touched on that, but
Mm-hmm.
like it, you might make it through one contract, but if you're I like that locker room etiquette isn't there, then
Mm-hmm.
it's the sustainability of it as well. um I love the sort of sidebars and pivots that we're making.
It's
These are such good conversations,
yeah, just so
topics
much.
that I think they're so important, though. It's yeah, it's so much to cover, and I just think because there's a lot of young dancers and entertainers that listen to the podcast, but there's also a lot of teachers and parents that
Mm-hmm.
listen as well. So this sort of behind the scenes knowledge, I think, is just it's so valuable for no matter where you are in your life or in your career.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a good exposure to what really goes on. Um, because I know the length of these episodes, I do want to make sure we spend time on just sort of your experience in TV film.
Yeah.
You've had some freaking wicked roles, and I wanna talk about them. I want to talk about your
Yeah.
favorite ones, some of the highlights that you could share with us.
Yeah, of course. So my TV and film, I mean, it's been a little bit longer now, but I didn't book those jobs as fast as other, dancers or colleagues, that that were maybe like I would call like in my kind of like bubble in my circle. And then eventually they started coming, and it felt kind of like at last, but then I also felt so ready, which was great. Like
Mm,
I really liked, I have no, I don't know. I'm really appreciative of the time that everything took. When it comes to TV and film now, I'm starting to transition into more choreography or assistant choreography. So Mo Brody, as you mentioned before, she was on the podcast earlier. She is she is the boss, and she is my boss. She calls me like we're each other's work wives and work husbands. So there's often a lot of like Hallmark movies or little TV episodes where the leads have to partner dance. And so Mo and I will often will often work together, create little dances for the leads to do. Um, and like that has been really really eye opening. I love those moments a lot because I get to see one, like how the machine works. It's huge. And how the scheduling happens, how we all get to, these places. And yeah, I don't know, like we've done everything. We're kind of like the yes team because oftentimes they don't need to look like professional dancers, which is amazing. They just need to be able to say their lines, look comfortable, or like sell the scene. And I think that's really
yeah,
fun. And Mo and I not to kind of toot our own horns, but we have a I think our strength is
toot
the
away.
it's the ability to make people feel relaxed because it's so intimidating doing something that you are unfamiliar with. And a lot of actors don't want to look bad. Just like, I mean, why would you want to look bad? But then it's immortalized on camera. So there's this extra
Mm,
pressure. And so yeah, Mo has taught me a lot in that, and she can just disarm anyone so quickly. Like their guard just falls, and then all of a sudden we're doing, like this like rendition of a foxtrot, or like this
just
waltz that's
humans
happening.
being humans, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Versus being able to break that wall is something that I've noticed Mo so talented at, but also I've witnessed because I've taken your classes that you have a great way, an ability of doing that as well. And I truly think, just from an observatory standpoint, it's your way of just being a frickin' human and not giving a crap sort of
mm,
thing. Like quality is there, still quality is there without question, but it's just human first and all of the messiness that comes with being a human, and we're all in that boat
yeah.
together. And so, however we get to that foxtrot 8 count or
Yeah.
whatever it is, so be it. But we'll get there. But let's make it enjoyable, sort of
Yeah.
thing. Like that's
Yeah,
what
no,
I've witnessed myself.
being authentic, I mean, of course, on camera, like you're always trying to tell the story. You're like you were always there for a reason, and so I think yeah, like that just seems to be the most obvious point is you never, and this is something that I tell students or people kind of aspiring. You kind of need to be the best at your chasses and like a sway. Like that's what you're going to be doing on set. Sometimes you have like the most amazing experiences where the choreo is difficult or anything, but really you just need to like be invested in the story and feel so comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're so right in saying that. And that's why like I'm so in awe of your career because you've coupled TV film and your experience both as a performer on it but also now as a choreographer. But you've also paired it with still your work in live theater and
Mm,
on touring shows and a part of companies. And so you are really pushing the agenda for sort of what you can do in the lifespan of an artist and an actor, dancer.
mm,
So Do you have there isn't there's not too many people that really have done the amount of diversity that you have in the way that you have. You have really created this sort of unique character, if you will. Even with like, I love the commercial that I think it was 2 years ago, maybe, in the shower.
Yeah.
And for listeners, like it'll be out there for you to see, but it is just so Kieran, and you really have carved this sort of personality and this character, so that people can now sort of pinpoint you to do roles like that.
Mhm.
So that in itself, Kieran, is so cool. Like,
Yeah.
I imagine you've kind of acknowledged that, but like getting to a point in your career where you can sort of just be tapped on because it's like this is perfect for you. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
people in
No.
the industry now know, like, that's cool. Like,
Yeah.
that's sick for me to observe.
It's a really cool thing, and of course, like, thank you so much for the kind words. I really do. Yeah, I do appreciate it, and I feel as though I kind of often talk about I'm just amassing information. I don't know what I'm using it for. Like, I felt like I was like trying to like I'm like building this thing to do something, and then there comes a point where you're like, holy, like I've been doing it. Like, what am I waiting for? Like, when I look back, I'm like, oh man, like I've been like trying to get to the next thing, but I'm like doing the thing right now. And so so that is one thing that I have to really be careful about, is that I'm actually present in where I am right now and not worrying about where I'm going to next. But there are some, like, yeah, some really fun projects, and the trust that I'm starting to get from people, because yeah, I try to just be a guy. That's sometimes how I feel. Like, and if you see that Delta commercial, that, like, I'm just like I feel like I'm just a guy, and that's what's kind of fun about it. Yeah.
And attractive to so many people because it's rare, I would say, to get that authenticity, and that coupled with just this beautiful sense of humor that so many people, including myself, love you for. um, Jumping to some of the work that you're doing now,
Hmm.
I did jot down like I'd love for you to, because I'm curious, are you planning monthly, scheduling weekly? Are you doing any of that? Or is it still work that's just being thrown at you and you're going, yeah, I'm available. No, I'm not. Like,
Yeah.
where are you at currently with taking on work, and what do you sort of see yourself kind of migrating towards more and more lately?
Yeah, so I'll just preface by saying, like, how you mentioned, like, Vancouver is so expensive. And like you have to say yes to so many things, and I'm really lucky, and I try to, you know teach this as much as I can. It's like versatility is what, I mean, it keeps me from burning out, and it keeps me from being bored. And so I try to do as much as I can. For the past 7 years, I've danced with Shea Kubler Radical System Art. That's a contemporary dance company. It's like there's some theater in there. There's some uh, like martial arts. There's contemporary dance. There's hip hop. Like, there's elements of tap. Like, if anyone has ever seen the show, like, each one is so unique, and that has kept me performing and touring. I've gotten to go to some amazing places: Germany, Israel, all around Canada, down into the States. We were in North Carolina. We were in upstate New York this year. We just got back from Yukon. We were touring up there like 2 weeks ago. So I've
Oh,
gotten to see these like really amazing places, and dance, kind of took me there. And I'm really grateful, because I know for sure I would not go to, like, I would not have been able to go to all those places without dance. So that's like the contemporary side. The next side, and it's been a while, but last year I did a few contracts of theater as an associate choreographer, with Julio Fuentes. Was super super honored to be brought on to some amazing projects. A new project as well, called Prison Dancers. So so great. Like, it was, yeah, it was a real privilege to be brought in and see this, also, like, how something starts almost in a workshop state and then gets brought on to be a musical. Like, that was that was
From seed
amazing.
to sow sort of
Yeah,
thing. Like you
totally.
were able to get exposed. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
And actually, yeah, and this last year I was actually in Toronto for the Toronto Fringe Festival working on a show called Northern Dancer, and Northern Dancer was a workshop that I actually did in 2000 and I want to say 15, and then we revisited it back
Jeez.
again. So like this is how long it takes, and the intention is to make a Broadway show with it. And actually, we almost had a buyer in New York, like just off Broadway, but it fell through. But like we're still pushing that show forward. But
Yeah.
it's to be at like that start point and see where things go is amazing. So I've been trying to do as much theater as I can, and again trying to get into that choreographer role as my own body needs time, then the brain can
Yeah, yeah,
handle a
yeah.
little bit more. And then teaching, like setting choreography and teaching intensives, and now getting into some more conventions and things like that. Like that is something that I am really passionate about, and I don't have a weekly teaching slot, and I do miss that connection, like, and seeing the growth. So this is kind of the next best thing where, there's a few studios now where I think I've gone for the last 4 or 5 years, and I get to see the kids grow up and they're graduating, and we've worked with them for so long. So that kind of like scratches that itch, as well as I get to, kind of set choreography and keep working on my own craft consistently. um, so that's like another, like the last kind of, well, that's not the last half. That's like another quarter of what I'll be doing in a year. It's
Yeah.
probably, in a few different cities, maybe gone for about 10 weeks a
'Cause it
year. And then the TV
it
and
looks
film.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's
It's
like
like
enough for that, but I don't know.
right.
There's some really special people, and I have the privilege of knowing them, that can sustain themselves in one, like, industry within dance. But I felt that I cannot do that. So yeah,
Diversification.
so
And I just think, like, Kieran, honestly, starting with when we started hit record, like you opened with your parents being in the industry that they were in, and it was immediately just like in my eyes, like you born into a entertainment live, like a theater family.
mhm,
And it doesn't mean you had to end up being in that industry, but like it's just it's in you, it's
yeah,
in you. And if anyone has been in the same room as you, it's so it's so, what is the word I'm looking for? Contagious. Like your
mm,
passion for it. It's so contagious. And I truly believe it's why you are experiencing the success that you're experiencing.
thanks
Um,
for that. And I
I
also,
also do believe that,
yeah, sorry, I
yeah,
just want to clarify. Like, I'm like my family, it was all volunteer theater. So like it was bred out of passion. Like my mom, she was a dental assistant, and then an administrative assistant, and my dad worked in the oil field. Like these are just like, like regular people that did it on their spare time for the love of it. And I think like
that's even
I was like,
cooler.
yeah, so like that's even where it is, because it never had it never had like an unhealthy balance. It was all for the love. And I think seeing something like that was, yeah, and like those moments when you're like, yeah, sometimes the guests like have a full circle moment. Like this is one for me where I'm noticing now,
Yeah.
like the pressure was never there. And in that way I was able to kind of carefree go into maybe some uh, difficult places, just knowing that I would get through without actually knowing that I was going to get through. Like there was
You're
no
gonna
other
be
choice.
okay.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Um, No, it is really neat for me to listen to your background, to your story. I always sort of finish episodes with kind of just lighthearted chat. Just it's something that a lot of listeners have always requested. So sometimes they're just fire round questions, like
Hmm.
first thing that comes to mind, you've got to pop it out.
Okay.
But then also sometimes I see a shiny thing and get distracted. So, anyways. So first one I have for you, super random. If you had to choose your preferred method of travel, would it be boat or plane?
Plane.
Plane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One season for the rest of your life, winter, summer, spring, or fall.
Or I actually, if I'm living in Vancouver, I would say spring is really nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fair.
yeah,
I, yeah, okay.
yeah.
I'm not going to sidebar there. Um, oh, this was my favorite one. Death row meal, like the last meal on earth.
Okay, so we always talk about this. I actually think fried chicken, any type of fried chicken, so good.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Done. Easy. Oh, this is going to be a sidebar. Um, the only core memory I have of you is making I don't like Caesars, but you
Uh,
have made the only Caesar that I have been able to drink.
it's so good. The secret is I bake my own candied bacon. Shout out to my dad Mike for teaching me how to do that. Yep, it's the bacon.
Well, it
Yep.
was to die for. So, anyways, um, okay. My next one is if you could, and this is kind of funny because you have done a lot, but if there was any other thing that you could see yourself doing in terms of a career outside of the entertainment world, what would that be? And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know you mentioned drama teacher, but if there's something outside of the world that is in your realm already.
Yeah, it feels like my first instinct is probably an educator, a teacher, just because that was that
Yeah.
initial plan. Um, I don't know. I feel like I'm where I need to be, so I don't really think about that very often.
Good.
Yeah,
And honestly, sometimes I don't like that question because it's like it's not necessary.
yeah.
It's like, Matt, don't need to answer. The choice between you're out on a walk and you could either listen to music or a podcast. What are you finding yourself listening to?
Neither.
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
You
If
don't
I'm,
you don't plug in.
I try to not listen to music as often as I can. I know that sounds like so counterintuitive, but I find it that like if I'm listening to music, I'm working. And so I oftentimes I'm choreographing or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
I hear you.
if I have a nice
You're
walk,
you're
it's
starting to like
unplugged.
you're starting to do the on the sidewalk. What's the frickin' game when you're jumping on the you're doing the one hop, two hop, one hop. What's
Yeah.
that called?
Hopscotch.
Hopscotch.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my god. Okay, so then no music, no podcast. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah,
I'm
I know.
honestly I've got somewhat of a thing for podcasts. Obviously that's
Yeah.
why I have one, but I eat them up. Like oof, can't get enough.
Yeah.
What my two last ones, they're actually they're a little bit more deeper, I guess. If you could gift the world, this has been something I'm thinking about more lately. If you could gift the world with just one personality trait that everyone would have to have and like it would be a very sort of prominent one, what would it be?
I think levity and just like not taking anything too serious would be the number one thing. I think in terms of
Mm.
some people have the opportunity to, clock out at 5 and not think about it, and some people have to carry their work home with them. And I think that the ability to maybe this is something I need to talk to my therapist about, but make light of situations and think like, like sometimes I find myself saying like, oh, it's just dance. And I know that like
Mm.
it's in my entire life and it's also just dance. So those are like the contrasting points. But yeah, I think levity is
Yeah.
is good. A little humor, a little joke.
And I have yet to hear that one. I really, really like that. If you had an ideal sort of day off what would that look like? What is your day off? Whether, like, I normally say your ideal Sunday, but I know that's like
Yeah,
doesn't mean anything to dancers.
day off. I feel like I haven't had a true day off in so long, but I waking up to no alarm, coffee, like a really nice coffee, and enjoying it. Like
Mm,
that's what I like. I just want to sit and chat. That would be nice. And then it's usually a walk, like on the seawall here in Vancouver or something like that. That's kind of been like the typical day off, and then probably a happy hour patio or something like
yeah,
that.
for
Yeah,
sure. Oh, for sure. And you're an Oilers fan, aren't you?
I am gonna. No, I'm actually a Flames fan. Uh huh.
I didn't know this. We'll end the call here
Yeah,
because that's not happening.
I knew. Yeah, you should have asked me that before you brought me on. My brother
No
graduated.
kidding.
He graduated at the U of C. I think he graduated in 2003 or 2004, and that's when the Flames went on their cup run. They lost to Tampa Bay, but anyway, so that it was that year, and like we just all got involved in it because my brother was there, and ever since. But it's been good because there's a lot of prairie dancers here in Vancouver, and like the rivalry, like the Battle of Alberta, it's very real.
That's true.
Yeah, it's very
That's
real.
true. That's true. Okay, last parting one. For anyone that's listening that is sort of up and coming in the industry, do you have anything that you wish you kind of knew sooner and you're realizing now, something that would have been a good like advice at that developmental phase before the professional career set in?
I think what I would say is I moved pretty slow, and things happen like slow and steady. And at the very beginning, when there's people skyrocketing, that like comparison is just such a monster and can tear you apart. But just really be steadfast in your decisions. Like they always work out in the end. It's just sometimes it's hard to see immediately, but do what's do what's right, and like do what you need to do, because there's been a lot of people who take on too much responsibility too fast, and then that can be, like it's hard to climb back from that. That could be the end of your career before it even starts. So just making sure
Yeah,
that you're kind of ready, but also knowing that when an opportunity, like, you need to jump. So it's that like knife's edge. But
yeah.
yeah, I think just like be okay taking your time, because there is time. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like that. Thank you. Kieran, it's always a pleasure. I freaking love
Thanks.
your humor. Any chance I get to hang out with you and spend time, just whether it be on the job or otherwise, is always a gift. So
I
keep doing what you're
appreciate.
doing, and thank you for being a role model in the industry. Because I like to see role models in this industry that should be, and you are one of those. So can't wait to see what the next sort of lineup of work has in store. And if I can catch you on the big screen again, that's always a gift. If I can catch you in the live theater as well, or any
Uh-huh.
of the work that you're choreographing on, looking forward to all of it and everything. So, all the best with the
Cool.
work ahead, and stay in touch.
Okay, thanks so much, Briggs, for having me. It was awesome. Hopefully it wasn't too hard to follow.
Of course. No, that's my brain too. My brain too, buddy. So don't even worry about it. Okay,
Awesome.
cheers. Take
Okay.
care. So that was super freaking cool, and cheeks are gonna need a little massage after that one. I hope yours as well. I loved that conversation. I think that we dove into some topics that I have yet to dive into with guests. I'm not mad at the fact that we saw some shiny objects and ventured into those avenues. I think that this conversation was full of insights and some behind the scenes as to not only just the highs and lows of credits on resumes, if you will, but also just the highs and lows of life and what goes on in the mind of a working artist. So I hope you enjoyed that one. If you did, please rate the podcast. I mean, your help in terms of subscribing to the show, sharing the episodes goes a long way, because it does show that there's people out there that are enjoying what I'm putting out. Um, So you can always reach me on Instagram at Briggs_and_co_. I will also tag Keiran's information in the description of this episode. And if you have any other questions at all, feel free to shoot me an email the ancient way. It's admin@briggsandco.ca. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to educate yourselves and just to listen to a little bit of the life of a truly inspiring soul. I hope it gives you motivation, and I hope that you keep finding ways to leave average for Joe. Take care of yourselves. Hug your Briggs, loved ones extra tight. And I'll chat with you in the next episode of Briggs and Co.